So, Leica, could you explain the different types of diabetes?
Sure. We have type 1 diabetes, which typically develops earlier in life. This is when the pancreas does not produce any insulin. And then we have type 2 diabetes, which is what we're going to talk about today. This is the type of diabetes that usually happens later on in life and that can be best managed by lifestyle changes. And then we also have gestational diabetes, which occurs in pregnancy. We're not really going to touch on that today. We're going to focus mainly on type 2 diabetes.
Okay. Well, I have type 2 diabetes, so this is going to be real good information for me as well as the listeners that may have diabetes that's listening. So, what happens when diabetes develops?
For me to explain that, I first want to talk about what happens in a healthy person, and then we can look at the contrast. So in a healthy situation, when we eat carbohydrates, it turns into sugar in the blood when it's digested. And then your pancreas, which is an organ that you have, it produces insulin that helps get that sugar out of the blood and into the cell where it belongs for nourishment and energy. When a person has diabetes, they start to develop insulin resistance, where the insulin that they're producing is no longer working effectively to get the sugar out of the blood and into the cells for energy. So then the pancreas starts producing even more insulin to help, more and more insulin, and that becomes no longer effective. And that's when we need medications that either help our cells to become more receptive of the insulin, or it helps our pancreas to produce more insulin. Or, as you know, the final step is to have insulin injections.
Exactly, and that took me a while to even understand all of that when I was diagnosed with insulin resistant. So it was like I was in a denial stage as far as me having diabetes or me being starting to get diabetes with this insulin resistance topic that term that they use. So
right, that is the first stage. That is the first stage.
Yes, yes. What are examples of carbohydrates, the foods that turn into sugar, that turns into sugar in our body?
That's going to be your starches, mostly your breads, your rice, pasta, starchy vegetables, your beans, potatoes, peas, corns, and then of course our desserts, sugar, fruit, and milk and yogurt.
Bread. Bread is a big thing.
Definitely.
I love bread, bread and butter. So, that's something hard for me to stay away from. What are the worst foods for diabetes?
Some of the worst ones are foods that turn into sugar very quickly. These are going to be like your typical desserts, your cakes, your cookies, pies, all the things that people love. But these things cause the sugar in your blood to rise very quickly. That puts a lot of stress on your pancreas to try to produce enough insulin in a quick manner to get that where it needs to go in your cells. Some of the better foods that you should have are going to be your healthy protein foods that are unprocessed meats. Beans are better, fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds in moderation.
Okay. So what food choices should we make when we're out in the restaurant? Because I'm sure a lot of people that's listening go to the restaurants on Sundays with their families and find it difficult to choose the correct foods when they're eating out.
Sure. You want to make similar choices in restaurants as you do at home. One method that I teach a lot of my clients that helps is with portion control is called the plate method. So visually, you want to split your plate in half. Half of it should be non-starchy vegetables like your salads or your green vegetables, red vegetables, things like that. A fourth should be your healthy protein, and then reserve the last fourth for your starches. So that kind of helps with your portion control to use the plate method.
The plate method. Okay. I see that you state, what about fruit? What about the dessert? What type of choices would you think we should choose for desserts?
For desserts, people still love desserts. They still want to have desserts. I would recommend moderation. If you're going to have a cake, just have a slither of it or a pie. And take that into account when you're trying to balance your carbohydrates. If you're going to have that, don't have the bread with it. Don't have the other starches with it. Also, fruit is a nice dessert. A fruit-based dessert is good. And if you can't use moderation, then I just wouldn't have it at all.
So be smart about
Be
it.
smart.
Don't overload bread and dessert at the same time. Think
Right.
ahead and try to make wise choices. Beside the plate method, what else should we consider when planning our meals?
So first you want to start with your protein. Think about a healthy protein that you could have. Fish, your meat, eggs, nut butters like peanut butter or almond butter. Then add fresh fruits and vegetables. Studies have shown that even fresh fruits and vegetables work better for people who are insulin resistant than even your whole grains. So start with the fresh fruits and vegetables next, and then you want to go to a healthy fat. Omega-3 fats such as olive oil, nuts, fish oil, ground flaxseed. These have been shown to be very beneficial for people with insulin resistant. It makes the insulin much more efficient.
Wow, that's real interesting. Let's go to some alternatives to curb that sweet tooth. Do diabetics have to stop eating sweets and juice drinks?
I definitely would recommend not having drinks that have sugar, because they've shown when you drink your calories, you don't get that sense of fullness that you have when you eat solid foods. So I do not recommend it. For your drinks, I would recommend tea or coffee, water, of course, and you can add fruits to it, like lemon slices or lime slices to give it flavor. But you don't want to just drink sugary beverages, because that's taking up all your carbohydrate load that you can have.
Well, listeners, we're winding down on our time, and like I said, there's so much to talk about diabetes. So, just tune in next time. We're going to be giving some more information, but I'm going to try to get a little bit more questions in right about now. What are some diabetes-friendly beverages?
Water, of course, fresh vegetable juices. A lot of people are into juicing now, so you can juice, kale and carrots and apples and things like that in moderation. And then if you do need to sweeten like your tea or coffee, I recommend natural sweeteners. Just use it in moderation. You still have to count it, but they do tend to have a little bit more intensive flavor.
Okay, Leka, do you have any closing words you want to say about diabetes?
I would just say that if you're looking for more information about diabetes, we'll be talking again in the next segment. We'll continue on with the conversation, but you can also go to diabetes.org, find information, talk to your doctor about making an appointment with the dietitian, and then several hospitals also have diabetes classes that you can enroll in.
Okay, I want to share a few things real quick about the fruit beverages. I have a problem with drinking juice all the time, and one of the juices that I like to drink is this VA Splash. And I was just looking on the back of it. It says that it has 18 grams of sugar per one serving.
Okay.
So that's a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot. The American Heart Association recommends less than 25 grams of added sugar a day. So if you're already at 18 and 1 cup of juice, you're almost done for the day.
And one more. We got this Vest grape soda that has 50 grams of sugar in it.
Right.
That's
and
horrible,
that's
isn't
twice
it?
the amount that is recommended.
Right. So we all need to, look at the nutritional fact labels on the back and determine, what's best for us if you're diabetic. So listeners, again, you were tuned in to Your Health Matters with Miss Dion and Leka Hewitt, registered dietitian. We were talking about diabetes, and we're going to be talking about it some more. So please tune in next Wednesday at 4:45 p.m. to hear more about diabetes. Thank you and have a good evening.